Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Arctic Pauper Show. I am your host Arctic Ghost as always, and I am here to bring you a deck list that I actually did not get from the online results, but I actually got this one from a real life paper event result that was posted on the Reddit forums, so you should go check it out. It was from, I believe, Paupergeddon, I think 5 or 6, I'm not exactly sure which one. And this deck made the top 16 by a player by the name of I'm extremely sorry if I am butchering this, Borachi or Baraki Paolo, um, and I immediately saw this deck and just thought it was one of the coolest things ever. So, as you may think, this is a zoo deck, but it's not like the 5-color zoo deck I brought you before, and it's a Boggles deck, but it's not really Boggles. It's a very interesting hybrid. I've been testing this deck. I'm sorry if that was loud. I've been testing this deck a little bit, and it's won some games. It's lost some games. It's definitely a fun deck, but I don't know how powerful it is to play on a regular basis. I don't know, just how good it really would be for the leagues. I think it definitely has potential though, and I'm pretty glad to bring it to you. So without further ado, let's break this deck down, talk about piece by piece, and go from there. So first up are the creatures. Of course, you have Wild Nacatl, arguably the best common 1-drop in the game at being a 1-mana 3/3. It kind of goes above and beyond what a 1-drop should do. And then you have a couple of Slippery Boggles. This could be the elf if you wanted to, but I wanted to stick with Slippery Boggle because he just looks so happy. Not really, but why not? You only have to play 2 of these because this deck does not really rely on the hexproof side of things. I mean, sure, I am extremely sorry. I mean, sure, you do have ethereal armors, you do have rankers, you do have a couple of armadillo cloaks, you do have Heliod's Pilgrim to go get them, of course, but your better hexproof creature is Solhana Ledgewalker. So, okay, hold on a second. My bad. Okay, seems like I'm a popular person today. So, where was I? Oh, right, so Slippery Boggle. So, it's kind of just there just because it's a good 1-drop that you can attach Ethereal Armor and Rancor to. Which, by the way, you're playing Ethereal Armor and Rancor because they are technically, in my opinion, the best aura cards for this situation, so take that for what you will. Anyway, on to the 2-drops. You have Core Skyfisher because not only does he combo with Nylea's Presence and Abundant Growth and Heliod's Pilgrim, but he's also probably just the best flyer in Pauper for the mana cost and for the power and toughness that he gets. So for the stats and everything, she is just the best. I assume it's a she. I don't know. Anyway. And then, of course, you have Solhana Ledgewalker, which is just amazing. Now, sure, there are a lot of good flyers, but the fact of the matter is, well, when you slap a bunch of Ethereal Armors and Rankers on her, the flyers don't tend to mean much. Just keep that in mind. And then you have 2 Aura Gnarlid. Now, one thing that this deck does annoy the crap out of me is that removal is actually good against this deck because you play Wild Nacatl, because you play Core Skyfisher, because you play Aura Gnarlid. But if your opponent doesn't have the removal or has something like, let's say, a Lightning Bolt, and you have 2 Abundant Growths out, Aura Gnarlid's not dying, and it's probably going to win you the game extremely soon. So keep that one in mind. The reason why it's not that good in the Hexproof deck is because it just opens your opponent up to having, a single removal spell counters it. In this deck, if they only keep in, like, let's say, Doomblade in their deck, or 8 or 4 copies of Journey to Nowhere, you have 10 creatures that Journey to Nowhere has to take care of instead of just 2 or 4. So keep that in mind. And then, to round out the deck, you have a couple of Heliod's Pilgrims to go get the Armadillo Cloak when you need it, to go get the Rancor, to go get the Ethereal Armor. Maybe if you need more colors, you can go get Nylea's Presence or Abundant Growth, of course. So, I'll be very honest, it's mostly used to get Rancor, Ethereal Armor, Armadillo Cloak. I'm just going to point that out real quick. Moving on to the spells, of course, you have Ethereal Armor and Rancor because they are just the best ones available to you. You have Lightning Bolt because I have gotten into games where drawing 1 or 2 Lightning Bolts has won me the game, so it's kind of the best removal spell you could have because it also goes to the head. And then you have Abundant Growth and Nylea's Presence to help you out with the colors. Nylea's Presence more or less helps you out, of course, also with Wald and the Coddle being a 3/3 all the time. But, there is a good chance that you could take out a Nylea's Presence to put another Armadillo Cloak in the main. Hold on a second. Okay. You know, so you could do that. As far as the mana base goes, it's pretty straightforward. I'm just playing the snow-covered lands because I think they look cool. And then, you know, you just play 6 fetch lands. It doesn't really matter which combination you do. Do I sometimes run into mana problems in the terms of I don't have enough? Yeah, but in this deck you really only need 4 mana, 3 mana really to work with, so take that with a grain of salt. As far as the sideboard goes, I did change a couple of cards. The original list had like 1 Cop Red in the sideboard, which I changed for an Armadillo Cloak. It only had 2 Pyroblast, and it had a Gleeful Sabotage, which I changed for a 3rd Gorilla Shaman. And then there was something else. And then there was Galvanic Arc, for those of you who don't know what that is. I don't actually own one, I don't think. It's from old school Ravnica. It was an insane card back in Ravnica. It's basically just a fetchable bolt. But when I tried it, it was too expensive and too slow. So I decided to just make it a 3rd Pyroblast instead. You could do that. I would not fault you for it. It kept personally screwing me over, so I just changed it. As far as that goes, you have 3 Hydroblast, 3 Pyroblast. Those are pretty self-explanatory. The main spells you usually want to get through are your auras. So, not that. Or your auras, so keep that in mind. It's usually your auras that win the game, so when you're trying to use this to fight a counter war, keep that in mind. Gorilla Shaman, of course, is for Affinity. Affinity is a terrible, terrible matchup for this deck because their creatures are just bigger than you, and 1 Serene Heart, and you literally just almost can't beat that deck. So you need Gorilla Shamans, I think. Well, I'm sorry. You don't need Gorilla Shaman. They're not incredibly important, but to beat the Affinity matchup, those extra points really do help in percentage-wise. You have 1 Reaping the Graves because all your spells are so cheap, so you could end up playing a huge Reaping the Graves and getting back a bunch of good creatures. The most I've done it for is 3 at this point, but I don't know. I guess you could do it for more. And then you have 2 Ray of Revelation. Ray of Revelation, I think, is better in this style deck because, well, 1, you don't want to kill your auras with Serene Heart. 2, it kills Curse of the Bloody Tome as well. And 3, I don't know. I haven't really faced a lot of decks where Standard Bearer is great. Meaning I have not faced a lot of Boggles. I have not faced a lot of Stompy, you know, things of that nature. Against Stompy, sure, yes, I would suggest you put Standard Bearer back into the sideboard. But I think for now, Ray of Revelation might help a lot, especially because it destroys Journey to Nowhere, and Journey to Nowhere is also quite good against this deck. Keep that in mind. And then you have Electrickery, just because Electrickery is one of the best sideboard cards you have these days. Then there's the Armadillo Cloak to round it out. So that is the deck. It's pretty much as close to... Well, it pretty much is what the person top 16 with. I don't really think I have a good reason to go and change, you know, everything, as I think that this list is pretty well balanced. But we're going to run it through a couple test matches, maybe 3, but I'm not promising. Depends on how I feel. Just to show you how the deck works, show you, you know, some of the deck's faults, some of the deck's strengths. And we'll see how well it does. So thanks for watching, and I'll be right back with the matches. Stay tuned.